hello there everyone, welcome back to James Redmond TV and welcome to another Redmond Roundup where we talk about loads of news, but this time we get to talk about football because football's back. It hasn't really been gone because the World Cup's been there, but it's been a bit weird. I don't know, I'm glad that like club football's playing. I saw Arsenal were playing in the Dubai Super Cup the other day. We had our game yesterday. Our start weren't as luxurious as theirs. We lost 3-1 to Lyon. I think that's a good place to start. We're going to touch on Bellingham and Amrabat. We're going to touch on the Paddy Pimblett fight that just took place on the weekend along with Darren Till. So this is going to be possibly a longer episode, but obviously want to talk about the game first. We'll also touch on England. So Fabio Carvalho scored in like the first minute of the game, which was boss. Just really one of the most exciting players at the club in terms of flair, in terms of dribbling, trying things. Just really such a talented footballer. And in terms of talent, he's one of the most talented players in the squad. And I'm very excited to see what he does going forward. And I want to know if you agree with the same notion, if you're on the Fabio Carvalho train. But otherwise, we played sounds in the first half, second half. Lyon took control, like I said, getting a couple of goals as well, so I'm sure Arsenal fans will be buzzing about that. And that was the conclusion of the game. Listen, I'm not happy when Liverpool lose any game of football. I don't like losing pre-season friendlies as much as they are pre-season friendlies. This is the Dubai Super Cup. I don't even know if you can win it. Therefore, I don't really care about the prospect of having to beat Lyon and Milan. That being said, you want to see good performances. We saw a few of those yesterday. We saw a few in like bad decisions made as well, which I suppose is going to happen when the team haven't played together. Kelleher and Robbo had that little moment. And it is what it is. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Is it something that we should be worried about? Excited for? But speaking of worry, another thing that I didn't even mention at the start of the episode that I have to talk about is Luis Diaz, his injury. And what does this mean for Liverpool going forward in the rest of the season? Now, let me know what you think, as always, whether you support Liverpool or you don't. It's interesting to get sides from both because Luis Diaz being out, everyone's got to admit that is a huge blow. Liverpool have always been, when they've been at their best, when they've been getting the most points and being consistent and beating teams 2-3, 4-0, it's when they've had those explosive wingers and then you've got the attacker who can create the space for them. We saw Firmino playing a little bit more this season. That led to Luis Diaz having a fairly decent start as well. Don't get me wrong, it weren't the best start, but no one in the team had the best start besides Bobby Firmino. Bobby Firmino dropped deep. Luis Diaz and Salah, eventually, when Salah weren't playing so far out on the right wing, ended up playing that more inside right forward role, and that really suited us. So what I want to talk about is the style of play moving forward. How much does it impact us moving forward? Does not having that other explosive winger to worry defences about getting in behind and physicality, is that a big worry for our style of play going forward? I would say it is, but one thing I can expect is, or what you can expect as well, is maybe the idea of Diogo Jota playing in the middle. I don't really see him playing on the left excessively. You can change him throughout games and stuff like that, but I think Nunes is probably more suited to the type of winger that we're looking for, explosive, pacey. Whereas you look at Diogo Jota as a pure goal poacher, good with his head, good with both of his feet. I don't know. I think Diogo Jota for me is an out-and-out number 9. And I really do believe that, by the way. I don't know if he's a world-class number 9, but if we start playing him in some games with these attackers as well, then you might actually start seeing some more goals. Get Nunes out on the left wing to cause defences a little bit of trouble if you want. Or you can do Diogo on the left and Firmino in the middle as well. But it's very important that we keep up that high pressure that we haven't really had this season. We haven't really had the run-in and stuff like that, and we need to increase that going into the second part, because what I want to see from this team is not about fucking urgency, an element of something to prove, something to where you're marching into the second half of the season and saying, listen, can we win the league? Who knows? Let's give ourselves the best possible chance. Let's set the target to win every single game for the remainder of the season. Is that possible? Probably not, but if you set that target and you set yourself the highest possible target, even if you don't achieve that, you've at least achieved better than if you set yourself lower, because you're going for that goal. And it's very important that Liverpool do just show that sort of union, the harmony, listen to the manager. Now that the manager has had a nice break as well, I think that's something to take into factor. Because I believe he's just been on holiday with his missus, and deservedly so, by the way. So I'm just hoping that's recharged his batteries. That's going to get him back in the game. And now, even with Fabio Carvalho, with a couple of months under his belt, Harvey Elliott, hopefully these can make bigger statements going into the team. But speaking about the team, let's talk about Jude Bellingham and Amrabat, two potential new additions to the squad, to the midfield, very much needed additions to the midfield, because even though Naby Keita played yesterday, he still hasn't played a proper game of football in time. So I'm still not really keeping me high hopes there. Plus, he just doesn't look that happy, Naby Keita, does he? And I like Naby Keita, but I just don't think we suit him. I don't think he suits us. It didn't work out. We tried, but it is what it is. Now we've got to try again, and that is now with Bellingham and Amrabat. Now, we're heavily linked with them both. Bellingham, we all know the story there. Their family's buzzing. He's buzzing. He doesn't want loads and loads of dough. Therefore, he's happy to come to Liverpool, even if we don't get Champions League, allegedly. And then you've got Amrabat, who's just had an absolutely amazing World Cup. Still continuing to have an amazing World Cup, as Morocco haven't been knocked out yet, which is crazy. That being said, Amrabat we'll talk about first, as he's probably the signing that's going to be coming sooner. I made a video about him the other day. Some people didn't like the idea of signing him. They said he weren't good enough. Some people did like the idea of signing him because they listened to what I said. We need different types of midfielders, guys. We can't just all want Bellingham, Barea, Busquets in his prime. Like, we can't just want these players. And if you have those expectations, you are setting yourself up for ultimate sadness and depression, because football can cause that. When you just engulf nothing but football, you go through Twitter and you look through football, you watch telly and you consume football from pundits and the actual game itself. It's very easy to become sad about these things, and that's why you've got to set realistic expectations when it comes to aligning with your football team. And setting realistic expectations in this aspect, Amrabat would be perfect. He's someone who comes in, he's a strong midfielder, he'll be able to see out games, and think about it from a stylistic point of view for a team that plays 3 games a week. Amrabat would be perfect for at least one of those games, and that one game can be when you're 2-0 up against fucking Burnley, even though they're in the Championship, and you see out the game a lot more comfortable, because he's not someone to take those excessive risks. So when you're going for a goal, he's probably the player you take off, you know, or maybe if you're playing a more attacking approach, make him one of the players that stay back. But he looks like he's got good legs, good reading of the game, which is very important, and he's physical to a degree. So I think it'd be decent. He's also quite young. He's like that perfect age that Klopp looks for. I believe he's 26, 25, there in that range. And I am all for it because he's not a big price signing. And Jude Bellingham is that person that is the super signing that everyone wants and needs. But Jude Bellingham isn't the only midfielder that we need. So that's why we need to go out and get Amrabat as well. On the Jude Bellingham thing, I'll correlate this with the England game, because England got knocked out by France. Mad game. Weren't really a great World Cup for England, let's be honest. Anyone who's still got a Southgate in is absolutely ludicrous, because there's no way you can sit there and say he has maximised the potential of what these players have had. And England, it's not the Gerrards, Lampards, Ashley Cole. It's really not that level right now. It's really not. But you cannot say he's maximised the team that England have, because in this current day of football, England is one of the better national teams on paper. Paper means not unrealistically. That being said, you can still get better than the performance that you got against France. But it is what it is. To correlate that with Jude Bellingham, you're probably thinking, how does James link this together? We're trying to buy him. There's price ranges being made. It's not like he's 100 million or 120 million. It's between 100 and 150 million or 130 million. There in that range. One good thing about England getting knocked out the World Cup, maybe, and I am really just grasping at straws, is that if England go to the final, Bellingham scores in the final, that might just add 10 to 15 more million on top of it, or 20, maybe even more, and maybe not at all, but it's a prospect that now is going to be eliminated, and we can save that extra little bit of money. But I really do hope that, you know, with the fact that Jude has got knocked out with England, he doesn't look like he's going to achieve anything too significant with Dortmund this season. Hopefully it gives him that incentive that when he comes to Liverpool next year, I've got to show I'm the Billy Big Bollocks here, you know what I mean? Make sure that I start building the foundations to be the world-class player that I want to be for the next World Cup. Kind of like a break-up, you know what I'm saying? You got that fire, you go to the gym a little bit more, your muscles get a little bit bigger. Hopefully he has that element. Shout out to Alphonso Davies, by the way, my G. But anyway, I think I've talked about loads of stuff in terms of the football. Did it talk about everything that I wanted to in terms of the football? Liverpool, Lyon, England, Jude Bellingham, Amrabat. I'll ask you a question. Guys, what's the approach? What's the thoughts going back into the new part of the season? Are you worried? Will we get top 4? Because I believe that's the goal that we're all really hoping for Liverpool to achieve. If you ask me that question, I can only respond in no. And I give you that very no based on the premise that if I was betting all the money on my bank account, I would not be too confident in Liverpool getting top 4. Now that you add the Luis Diaz injury on top of that is even less confidence. But do I believe in these players? Absolutely. Am I going to let that belief override logic? No, I won't, because I'm doing videos and you've got to look at both sides of the coin. I believe we can. I believe in Jurgen Norbert Klopp, who's gone ahead and achieved everything. I believe in Virgil. I believe in Salah. I believe in Alisson. I believe in all of these players who have got a massive incentive to go and absolutely smash it, because not many of them has a great World Cup, by the way. I think Konate's the only one who's still in the... Shout out to Ibu Konate, the absolute tank. He's going to win the World Cup, laddie. Boo. I hope it's Messi. But if it's not going to be Messi, it's got to be Ibu. Imagine Ibu winning a World Cup, lads. Just think about like the accolades he could have by the end of his career. But point and premise is that we've got to get top 4 for the sake that I love Champions League nights. I would hate Europa League nights. That being said, it would be quite intriguing if Jurgen Klopp could claim that Europa League back. But then if you got knocked out of the... I don't know, it's too much stress for a very little reward, because you talk about the Europa League for the day that you won it and then you wouldn't care. So let's just get top 4, Liverpool. Luis Diaz, get well soon. He's back in March. I hate ACLs, MCLs, and all these little ligament injuries. I wish you could just... I don't know. Danny Ings would have been a great striker without ligament injuries, by the way. I feel like that's a fact. He is a proper number 9, Danny Ings. And when he was at Liverpool, the one thing he would do, even without having a good game, kind of like Diogo Jota, let me know if you think that's a good comparison, he'd just sniff out a goal all the time. But it just didn't work out. Anyway, to round up the Redmond Roundup, we're going to talk about a little bit of UFC. So hopefully you enjoyed the football chat. I'm now going to talk about a sport that I love dearly, probably just as much as football, which is mixed martial arts. And at the end of the day, I watch every card, I watch every fight night, every pay-per-view. That being said, I watched this pay-per-view with a little bit more intrigue on the premise that Paddy, fellow Scouser, Darren Till, fellow Scouser, were both fighting on the card. And that, for the hardcore MMA fans, isn't going to be too exciting. But for me, very exciting. So, Darren Till fought Dricus du Plessis. And Dricus du Plessis is a South African fighter. He's kind of like a kickboxer. But, I don't know, he's very aggressive. Muscular as fuck. Looks like he's on steroids, but he's very talented. And he's a game motherfucker. But anyway, he came into the octagon. One thing that he done straight away: pressure, takedown, hits to the face. Darren Till was communicating with the referee like, listen, I'm sweet. I thought that actually was a good idea in hindsight, based on the fact that the commentators were saying finish it, the crowds were making so much noise. There was a lot of reasons for the referee to feel the pressure to stop the fight, whereas Darren Till giving him that clarification, still being on his feet, and at least trying to absorb the damage so he can find an opening to escape the clinch. I thought that was really, really good in hindsight. But getting in that position obviously weren't good. And then second round, Dricus was just absolutely finished. He was goosed. His big muscles had no more air in them, and Darren Till unloaded. But you could see that Darren also was tired. It was a very fatigued middleweight bout. But Darren landed some huge shots, and then Dricus at the end, in the last round, got the finish. It was kind of a premature finish in terms of that it weren't like a hard choke, it weren't like a proper mad one in terms of it being under his neck, but the pressure that causes on your jaw, especially when you've just been slammed onto the mat, no me goose that, and Darren Till tapped out. Next move for Darren Till is to take some time off and come back and fight a Joachim Buckley or something. I think that'd be a really good move for Darren Till in his next fight, and let me know what you think. But anyway, let's talk about Paddy Pimblett briefly. There was a big energy going into this fight. Fucking hell, the noise that Paddy Pimblett makes for his fights is just... It is the closest thing to Conor McGregor that I've seen in a long, long time. Even Israel Adesanya, who has gone through extreme lengths to come up with the most legendary walkouts that I've ever seen, Paddy Pimblett noise volumes that he causes is just superstar level, mate. But he has a lot of controversy going into the fight with Ariel Helwani, which I weren't the biggest fan of, because I like Ariel Helwani, but Paddy's a Scouser, and what he's doing is unbelievable. He's in the UFC, and that's just a cool thing. That's like a little dream that I wish I could achieve. And it's cool that he's doing it. And going into this fight against Jared Gordon, it was one that he weren't supposed to win. It was more just a test to see where Paddy was, and then the fight went where it went. I'm not going to lie, I think there was a big deal made out of the robbery, just in a sense that Jared just weren't causing too much damage. But I had it 29-28 Jared, just about. But if you're going off the premise of damage, Jared just didn't do enough. So the judge is giving it the other way. I said before the fight ended, I'm going to think the judge is going to give it 29-28 based on the damage that has been caused. I also think that's why Jan Blachowicz and Ankalaev was a draw in the main event, because the judges took more emphasis in from damage opposed to grappling, which is what Ankalaev was doing for the remainder of the rounds. And grappling should still be taken into consideration, but the criteria that the judges are told to go off is damage. And when Jared Gordon has got Paddy up against the cage, and Paddy, even though not landing knees that are going to knock you out, he's landing good knees from his back against the cage. And on top of that, he's landing good elbows, some decent little punches. The point and premise is that he was landing more than Jared Gordon. And I think that is enough for a referee to sit there and say, well, even though you had him up against the fence, you never caused any damage. So are you fighting him or are you hugging him? Grappling should be taken more seriously in MMA, by the way. But UFC don't look for grappling. They're not looking for unentertaining things. Jiu-jitsu's fun because people understand jiu-jitsu a little bit more now, and you're always aiming to grab a limb which can end the fight. People are looking for the end. Wrestling doesn't necessarily cause the end of fights. If you look at UFC fighters or MMA fighters who are predominantly wrestlers, their records consist of a lot of decisions. That does not create good pay-per-view buys. That's why you'll get Herb Dean saying, come on guys, fight, because there's a null in the action. Whenever someone's wrestling, there is always something going on. But apparently there's nothing going on, so we need to break the action up and get the action going again. They're looking for action. This is not the game of, I sit on you for 15 minutes, therefore I win. This is the game of damage. And this gives the fighters more incentive to cause more damage, hence why Paddy Pimblett could have won the fight, based on the criteria that has been set within the MMA rules, within the Athletic Commission. So let me know what you think. I know a lot of people are going to go off the wrestling, but watch the third round again. Because I think the second round you had to give to Paddy. First round I gave to Jared. I thought Jared landed some great left hooks and implemented the grappling fairly well. Done well defending against Paddy's jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. The second round I gave to Paddy. Third round I gave to Jared just about, because I still take grappling into a bit of consideration. Based on the criteria, you could argue Paddy done more damage. In fact, I think it's hard to dispute that he didn't do more damage. But that's just me. Maybe I'm just a biased scouser, as I am with Liverpool. Anyway, guys, let me know if you liked the longer Redmond roundup. I know no one really cares about the UFC, but I thought I'd talk about it because I really like it. So let me know what you thought about the fight if there is any fellow UFC fans watching. But anyway, my lips are dead dry. I should have put some lip balm on or Vaseline on before I started this. I've been having me little water throughout the show as well. Smash a like if you want. Subscribe if you want. Smashing a like would be better because it gets the video out there more. But if you do both, that's like giving charity to a YouTuber. Honestly, if you smash a like and subscribe, that's like a really, really good thing. And it just helps me out more than you think. So if you like the channel, you want to see more videos, do that stuff. And comment about any feedback you've got on the video or any questions that you want to ask me would be a belter. And guys, I'll see you all later. Peace out.